And it is great having you with us for the starting lineup as we begin the second hour, and we very much appreciate your being with us. Starting lineup is brought to you by Play It Again Sports in the Fremont Shopping Center, Battlefield and Fremont, Springfield. Great deals for you folks, and you can't go wrong at Play It Again Sports. Brought to you by Citizens Bank of Rogersville with two locales, roots as they call them, at the Citizens Bank. It is one at Highland Springs, that's close to it, adjacent to Highland Springs. The other is in Rogersville itself. Brought to you by Swing Right Golf at the south end of Campbell Avenue, a little bit north of Nixa. And indeed, great times for you. The simulators there, the outdoor batting cages are there. As Dwight told us earlier, the golf frisbee fields are there. It should be a lot of fun for you at Swing Right Golf. And by Marshfield Chevrolet at the I-44 exit, couple of left turns, and what you do is cross I-44 on the north side. You're on the outer road, and you are driving right into Marshfield Chevrolet. I'm Ned Reynolds, along with
Maddux Radosevic,
Art Hains,
and Dwight Glenn.
Artur, good morning. Everything all right with you, man?
Yeah, good. Good. Guys, how are you?
Well, yeah, I know you had a great weekend. Number one, you were relaxed and enjoying yourself. And number two, your ball club is tearing things apart. How about that? 8 straight wins.
I know it. They've caught fire, had a perfect homestand, and now we see if they can take that act on the road.
And the road, I think, is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's in Toronto where they start out. Is that correct?
Yeah, off night tonight, then 3 in Toronto, 3 in Cleveland.
How do you predict they're going to do? Because this is a team playing pretty well.
Well, they really are. Now, Toronto's got a lot on the line. You know, they're right in the wild card chase, so it'll be good. But, I mean, they've gotten good starting pitching every game. They're piecing together the bullpen that's really been effective. Nathan Pearson that came from Houston, he was DFA'd by them, and he's been outstanding. And Steven Cruz on the back end, and they're really hitting. They're hitting home runs. They're getting clutch hits. They are second in baseball behind Houston in runners driven in with 2 out.
And they're doing that with the power. Caglione is one, and Salvi Perez, of course, Bobby Witt Jr. being the other. But there are others who are coming through as well. Interesting enough, I heard one of the VSiN commentators this morning say that he picks Toronto to come through in their wild card and be one of the wild card teams. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think there'd be a good chance of that, where they'd all be from the East. The Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Blue Jays. I think so. Won't come out of either of the other 2 divisions.
Or do you think there's any kind of motivation for the Royals to try to catch Detroit in the standings and avoid being last in the American League Central? They're now just 4 games behind Detroit.
Right. Sure there is. I mean, if you want to dream, they're 7.5 out of the wild card. I mean, that's a long way to go, but they'd have to get close to 500, which would be very hard. But they've gone from 24 games under to 16 games under in 8 days, so we'll see how long they can stay on this heater.
Well, this creates good momentum, I'm assuming, from a Royals fan standpoint, not just for the rest of this year to keep you interested, but also going into next year, because this is how we expected this team to perform all year, correct?
Exactly so. Exactly. So it is good looking forward to next year. They still have a couple of holes in there to fill. Can't get complacent that we just throw the same team out there and have much better results, although I think there's some justification for that. But, yeah, it's a good omen for next year if they can finish real strong.
Hopefully there will be next year. And the more I keep reading about it, while the 2 sides have been meeting and talking and so forth, they haven't really discussed anything of solid context yet. So we'll wait and see what happens. December the 1st, of course, is the date. Art, we were lamenting earlier in the show, and I'm sure you saw the circumstances as well, with the Cardinals giving up 6 runs in the 9th inning, all 6 in Philadelphia's 6-4 win. What were your thoughts on that, and what are your thoughts on the St. Louis Ball Club?
There's nothing that is a killer like that.
No.
Like giving up a big lead in the last inning. I mean, that's just hard to overcome. I mean, the Phillies are a very good team, but, the Cardinals needed to win one of those, and that's a blow to them. I mean, they're a long shot to make the wild card longer now.
How do you see this team responding after a series and after a game like yesterday? They were down to the last strike there, Philadelphia was, for I think 3 times in that 9th inning. So how do the Cardinals bounce back from something like that?
Well, the Royals have had that happen to them several times this year. Not lately, but I remember it happened in Detroit in maybe June, and they went on and lost about 5 more in a row after that. I mean, now they say, and it's true, baseball is one day at a time. The slate is clean. You're as good as your next day's starting pitcher. But it's psychologically hard to bounce back. And if you have a late lead, you're looking over your shoulder, and are we going to blow it again? So the only thing that breaks you out of that is to successfully close out some games.
This is not the first time the Cardinals have had that happen. You might remember they were out in Arizona, had a 7-0 lead on the Arizona Diamondbacks, and lost that game 8-7. That was looked upon by the players as a catalyst to some of the difficulties they've had later in the season. But they did respond from that. They came away with wins. They're even up right now at 66-66, and that gives them, to my somewhat limited mathematics knowledge, 30 games still to play, starting with their series tomorrow night. So technically they still come out of it, but I have to think, Maddux and Dwight, that had to be a very significant blow for them.
Well, I think that Bob Nightingale said this months ago, and it's come to be the truth, that they're out of pitching. You know, they have really put a strain on that relief staff. And then Kyle Leahy has been a great surprise, but now they've decided to put him on a pitch count. And he pitched 4 brilliant innings yesterday, and you're in the bullpen in the 5th inning. And, Art, I know we talk about this, and it probably drives everybody crazy, but I still lament the fact that we don't have starters that can give you 6 or 7 solid innings.
Oh, I know. Anymore, if they give you 5, good job. But, I mean, you're shooting for 6 every time, and that's easier said than done. But, I mean, anymore, if you get 6 good innings out of your starter, a quality start is considered to be 6 innings, 3 or fewer earned runs.
Well, I'm going to piggyback what you're talking about with that, Art, and ask the 3 of you a question and get your opinions. Jacob deGrom, I think, recorded his 2000th career strikeout over the weekend and has won 2 Cy Youngs, has been hurt often, but I think he only has 105 wins total in that time period. Wow. What is going to be the new standard for a Hall of Fame pitcher as we go into this next generation of starting pitching that only goes 5 innings?
Arthur?
Yeah, the wins total is becoming less and less relevant. I mean, if there's an 18-game winner in the league, you're going to lead the league. So I don't know if there'll ever be another 300-game winner.
I don't either. And in fact, I'm curious as to whether are going to be any 200-game winners. That would be the hallmark right now, because they don't have them. They're just not there. And the pitching game and the philosophy toward pitching has changed so much from when I was a kid. My gosh, all my boyhood heroes, Robin Roberts and all of the guys who threw back then, all threw complete games. Right. Steve Carlton, I think, had 32 for the Cardinals. I'm sorry, not for the Cardinals, for the Phillies in his halcyon years with them. He had 32 complete games, and there were others right up until just about really 20 years ago is when it began to all change.
Interestingly enough, I don't think wins have been valued as much in the recent past, too. You talk about somebody like now the late Tommy John not being in the Hall of Fame. He has the 7th most wins for any left-handed pitcher in Major League history, and he is not in the Hall of Fame.
288 of them.
And he should be in the Hall of Fame. Years. Yeah, I think he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely, I agree.
The other thing that I saw today is Cal Ripken Jr.'s 66th birthday, which makes me feel old. He should still be playing in my mind. But is there any record greater than his games played consecutively record as far as not going to be broken, not in our lifetimes, but ever again because of management, load management?
Arthur?
Well, I doubt if it's broken, but we never thought Gehrig's record was going to be broken, and Ripken beat it by 500.
He did.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, never say never, but it's just the impossibility of staying injury-free to over that long period of years. That's very highly improbable that's going to happen again.
While we're talking about baseball records, I think there's one really fascinating category that is becoming more and more common, and it's to have a hitter strike out 200 or more times in a season. I don't think it happened until 2008, but now there have been many circumstances of that occurring, and it's going to be close here down the stretch, but Kyle Schwarber has a chance to break that record here in 2026.
How many times has he struck out?
I think he's around 186 right now, and the record is 223. And with Philadelphia playing around 30 games left, like you said, Ned, I mean, he strikes out on average more than once per game, so he has a chance to break that record.
Cardinals were hoping he'd strike out in the ninth inning, too, which he did not. He did strike one, but it ended up in the trees out in center field.
Why do you pitch to him?
Well, that's exactly right. Why do you pitch to the guy? They had an opportunity not to, except for the fact that you would have sent the eventual winning run to second base and put it in scoring position, but you wouldn't have had him at bat. That's the key right there. And Luis Arraez, I'm not sure that he was even in the lineup yesterday. I think he came in as a pinch hitter, if I'm not mistaken. But he would be your key to be in that position right there. He's hit gangbusters since he's come over from the San Francisco Giants.
Hitting
he's
440.
He's a three-time batting champion.
Right, and he's hitting 440 in his last 7 games. You wonder why the Phillies have won 9 in a row. Luis Arraez is a big reason why.
He's one of them. He's one of the reasons why.
Well, like my story I've told many times, but I was with my son at a Royals-Cardinals game in Pujols' prime, and the Cardinals had the bases loaded and Pujols coming up. My son was in high school. He said, "Dad, I'd walk him." I said, "Son, you can't walk the guy, walk in a run." "Well, grand slam." So they should have walked him.
And there were several recorded incidents back in the Babe Ruth era when he was walked with the bases loaded, walked intentionally to walk in the winning run to prevent just exactly that from happening.
Well, I think Barry Bonds was walked a couple of times during his massive home run seasons there when he might have been on a substance or two, because, when you see him on Netflix now, his hat size has gone way down.
There's another great Babe Ruth story from back when he was playing. Ty Cobb was the player manager for the Detroit Tigers, I believe, at the time. And he was playing in the field, came in, talked to his pitcher, said, "Okay, we're going to walk Babe Ruth." Babe Ruth came up to bat. First pitch comes across, it's a strike. Ty Cobb comes screaming at the pitcher right up to him, says, "What are you doing? We're walking him." Same thing. Pitcher throws strike 2. Everybody's laughing in the stands. Babe Ruth is getting a big chuckle out of it. Ty Cobb comes running back, screaming at the pitcher again. Next pitch, strike 3. Babe Ruth is punched out, and it was all because he was fooled. Ty Cobb had this plan from the beginning that they were going to strike him out.
The little subtleties and nuances that go into the game, and that's what makes baseball so beautiful, because there are so many of the unseen and unnoticed little incidents that occur during games that make a very big difference. That's why I love it. Arthur, I know you're the same mindset as I am along those lines.
Oh, yeah. Baseball lends itself to great stories. They play every day, so there are a lot of chances for wild things to happen and great stories to be made.
I found you may or may not have heard this, but we had an interview with Drury's head baseball coach when he came back from vacation last week. Scott arranged this.
Right.
And Scott Nasby took his family down, and they were partially in the Dominican Republic and partially in Costa Rica. The Costa Rica was vacation.
Right.
So was Dominican, except that they went to all these baseball camps, and Scott was saying that's what the kids play down there. There is no such thing as football and maybe a little bit of basketball, but no, it's all baseball. And they play it 25 hours a day out in the street.
That's why there's so many Dominicans in the big leagues.
That's exactly right.
And it's also their way out of poverty, if you want to get down to it. I mean, they're looking for a better life, and if you can you go to the States and get in Major League Baseball, you've got a chance.
And the world we live in, too, I found this to be fascinating, too, because unbeknownst to many who don't study these things, but the Dominican Republic and Haiti are on the same island.
Right.
There's a mountain range, I think, that maybe divides the two. So you ask the people in the Dominican Republic, how many Haitians? None. We don't allow them in here.
Well, and I know we have to go to break, but the other thing I thought that Scott said during that interview that was very interesting is going down to Costa Rica, nobody was playing baseball. Everybody was playing soccer.
And you know what they were also doing? Gambling on baseball, too, down there. Timeout. We are back in a second. Scott Purrier not with us today. He will be back tomorrow. Ned Reynolds along with
Maddux Radosevic,
Art Hains,
and Dwight Glenn.
Okay, you guys were into circumstances surrounding baseball, which, of course, is really in a tough and tight stretch run right now. But football's about to get underway. We looked at the schedule, and there are a few scattered college games next Saturday. I believe North Carolina and Texas Christian are playing in Dublin, Ireland, but there are others as well. Arthur, what do you hear about the Bears? Did they have the second scrimmage on Friday, and were you in attendance for that?
I was not, and I really haven't heard anything about it. It's obviously old news that Locklear is the starting quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And Breezy Dubar and Ramon Green will be the running backs. Yeah, I mean, I think the fast pace is the thing that'll strike people the most, how quickly they get in and out of the huddle and right on to the next play.
Well, I have to agree with you because that has not been the standard method that the Bears have used. However, we have new players in there now, new coaching staff, of course, and I think Coach Woods has a very good game plan in mind. Hopefully, it'll result in some. I'm picking them for 6-6, and if they do that, I think they have a very good football year. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 6-6 is what I'm saying. Anything better than that would be fantastic.
question for all three of you guys. What would the Bears have to do with their record in order to have an exceptional season? And then on the other side of that, how many wins would they have to fail to get in order for it to be considered a disappointing season?
Arthur?
Well, I think 4 would be a disappointing season. 5 would be, okay. Anything over 6 would be good, and 8 would be great.
I'm in full agreement with what Arthur said there, the exact numbers I would have. There is such a thing as a disappointing season, but you have to remember also this is only the Bears' second year as an FBS team. And you were comparing it to a bowl team last year in which a record-setting quarterback was at the helm. And
that's just it.
Jacob Clark is not there. I don't know what this other young man, I did see him play with Texas El Paso, but be that as it may, again, it's a different circumstance and a different team. I think a lot of it has to do with what the Bears put on the field.
Well, you have to consider that they're going to lose 2 games probably, right, in the early going. So in order to win 7, they'd have to win 7 of the other 10.
I agree 100% with both of you. I think 4 would be a minor disappointment. Anything less would probably be, I do not like the word failure when you're in the second year of moving up. What I do hope is that they can be competitive in every game. It's one thing to, what happened at USC last year as a Missouri State graduate scared me to death. It's like, what have we gotten ourselves into? And then you go and upset Marshall, and then all of a sudden you have hope. The one thing you want as a fan, no matter what team you follow, is hope. They gave us a lot of excitement this year. I hope they can just at least maintain that excitement, because you want that fan that comes to their first Missouri State football game to be entertained by the product and for it to be competitive.
And you just mentioned the game that has this reporter very concerned, and that is Marshall coming here to play. When the Bears encountered Marshall last year, you had a team that still wasn't together. You remember they had 30 players leave their team the year before, and they had to cancel their bowl appearance. I believe it was Army that took it over. No, it was Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech took it over and played Army, and Army beat them up pretty good. But the fact is that the ball club is still, they were coming together, and they did come together a little bit later on. They will be together when they come here. I'm talking about the Marshall Thundering Herd, and They have a very, very good and renowned football program there. That will be a tough assignment because they'll be breathing fire when they come in here.
Yeah, and that's one the Bears need to win. But I agree with you, Ned. That'll be a hard game.
And the Conference USA season, I think the Bears can hold their own. Liberty's going to be awfully tough. Liberty, as far as the VSiN guys are concerned, Liberty and Kennesaw State are their two top choices to do pretty well. Well, maybe not. Bears play Kennesaw State up here, I believe, next year.
And Liberty.
And Liberty's final game of the year, or at least the final regularly scheduled game of the year. Do you, Arthur, do you foresee, and of course a lot of it depends on winning and weather and things like that, but do you foresee an increase in the attendance?
Well, it was good last year.
It was good.
I mean, it really was, but I think the first two games in September, home opener, a lot of excitement, and then Marshall, they'll be very well attended. And then you go into the October games on the weeknights. That's kind of dependent on the weather.
That it is, and a whole lot of dependence. I remember going to the game with Florida International last year, and it was not a bad night. It was probably in the high 40s, low 50s, but it was damp and all this sort of thing.
And it's windy.
And windy, and very windy, but not.
Everyone knows it's windy.
That's good, Art. I'm impressed.
That's well done.
My dad would like that one. Art, we've talked about the Bears need a rival. Everybody needs a rival like they've had over the years with Wichita State, Tulsa back in the 80s and 90s, Southern Illinois. Is Western Kentucky the most likely candidate to become that rivalry team in the Conference USA?
Well, they're the closest. But, you got to develop some – we're 1 year in to this conference. So you got to, through the playing of games, develop some kind of antipathy or whatever for a given opponent. And, we're not there yet.
Art, I want to ask you a little bit, changing sports here a little bit. There was a judicial win for the NCAA, which is an upset in itself, but they won the court appeal that they made against the athletes from 2022 coming back and retaining a year of eligibility. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, that avoided a mess.
It did, big time.
There were cases of guys that are in NFL training camps that were thinking about coming back for their senior year of college if that had been had gone through. So, it cleaned up a lot of things.
That would have been a major headache, and I doubt very much that this judge, and I think she was in Colorado if I'm not mistaken, but that wasn't taken into consideration, that this would involve a number of professional athletes who might not make their team coming back and playing in college. That doesn't make any sense at all. None.
Not
but
at all.
Probably not taken into consideration either, as a lot of the other decisions that have been made have not taken into consideration what the ramifications might be.
Some of them would make more money in college than they are trying to make a practice team in the NFL.
And still may be the case. Now, having said all that, we have the Senate coming back into session the second week in September, I think is when this is. And they will hear then, at least they're supposed to anyway, hear and rule on the Save or Protect the American College Sports Act. Your thoughts on it and what effect it might have if it does pass?
Well, I hope it does pass because it would limit the transfers. That's the big thing, to get a handle on the portal. And it's got some kind of mechanism to try to limit the number of conferences and teams jumping around helter-skelter like they have been.
There's also, and Dwight made reference to this a little bit earlier too, there is a rule that the college coaches cannot leave their teams until after their season has been completed, and that includes the bowl games as well. How about that as a thought?
Well, that's really hard because, if you're in prime recruiting season and you can't do anything for your new school, you're really going to be behind the eight ball, but it really leaves a bad taste in one's mouth. Ryan not coaching here last year and Lane Kiffin not coaching Ole Miss, even though he wanted to, but they said, we're not going to let you recruit for one of our rivals while you're coaching our team. So, I can understand both sides of that.
There are two sides to the argument, but I'm with you. I hope it does pass, and I hope that rule is in effect, and that the individuals can't leave until the season has ended, and that would certainly put, at least you would hope, on some of the players who bail out on bowl games and so forth and so on. That's just
don't know if you talked about this the first hour, but how about Jacardier Wright busting off a 69-yard touchdown run last night?
And how about the injury that occurred to the Shante kid from the Raiders, who, he went down in practice yesterday with a leg injury that appeared to be very substantial.
Yeah, Ashton Jennings.
Shante, you're right. And what that happens. But Jacardier Wright has a 69-yard touchdown run. He may play on Friday night when the Seahawks are here against the Chiefs.
I mean, he made one cut and he was gone. he showed him his heels.
Do you think we'll see him play Friday night at Arrowhead?
Yeah, sure.
I hope so. That would be a big deal. We're going to take a timeout here on the starting lineup because we have some special guests here in the studio. Arthur, we're going to talk a little bit about ice hockey coming up. All that on the agenda. Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back. And we are delighted to have you with us on the starting lineup, which is brought to you by Play It Again Sports, by Swing Right Golf, by Citizens Bank of Rogersville, and by Marshfield Chevrolet. I'm Ned Reynolds along with
Maddux Radosevic.
Art Hains.
And Art Hains visits with us. Dwight has taken leave of absence here for the final portion of the show, and we're very much appreciative that Dwight was in with us today. Scott Purrier is very busy. He's extremely busy on the golf course today. But we welcome into the starting lineup studio, the Ice Bears from Missouri State University, and the general manager, the owner, the guru, is Stan Melton, an old, long-time buddy. Stan, thanks for coming by.
Semi-retired general manager, Ned. We got Ryan Armstrong as our ace on that, but thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Introduce
General
Coach
Manager
Tom,
Emeritus.
Now we have our head coach, Tom Winkler, from the Ice Bears with us as well this morning.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Gentlemen, this is a great pleasure to have you all along for this, and this is going to be a lot of fun because we are talking about a season that begins pretty doggone shortly, or in fact,
already has.
Are they already here?
Started practicing, yep.
By the way, Ned, I've noticed for some reason the temperature in this room is going down. It's getting colder. Is there hockey guys in here or something?
No, it's because Ned Reynolds, who is a hot weather fan, has been overruled. Anyhow, guys, when's the season begin?
Well, we actually started practices last Friday. The guys came in a day or two early. School started last Monday. So we had our first, we did a Army fitness test with the guys on last Friday morning, and then hit the ice later that late morning for the first skate, and then regular schedule started the first week of school. And
what did the Army fitness test consist of?
A lot of things that I used to do that I don't do anymore. No, it was a conditioning. It was basically a test to see strength, speed, agility. It was great. Lieutenant Colonel Reeves from the ROTC department and his staff put the guys through it. And you know, it's one of the things that's been really great in my tenure here is every year the guys seem to come back more and more prepared for the start of the season. And even the Army guys were fairly impressed with our guys. It was kind of funny. We were on the track doing the 2-mile run, and the Missouri State women's cross-country team was out there. And I think they seriously lapped some of our guys. 8-9 times. It was incredible. I guess they were doing a series of 2-mile sprints for them, and oh man, it was quite impressive to see. They were flying, and Maddux? Some of our guys were not. They were showing up a little bit. Let's put it that way.
How many returning players do you have this year?
We have quite a few, to be honest with you. We lost 7 guys out of a 26-man roster, and I think I brought in just that amount, 7. So we're very, very deep up front. We have basically our top 4 and 5 scorers coming back. We did lose some guys on the blue line, but we were deep on the blue line last year, so heavy part of recruiting this year was filling some holes on the defensive side, and we've got our top 2 goaltenders back, and we brought in another freshman goaltender who's already challenging. So expectations are very high. And again, it's, we had a very, very strong finish to the season last year. So we're kind of one of those teams that isn't going to surprise anybody this year. And because of how we played at the national tournament last year, we certainly have the target on our back for our opponents in our divisional games. So it's going to be a great challenge, but it's where you want to be. You hear the guys talk about all these professional athletes. The new saying is privilege is a pressure, or pressure is a privilege. And that's kind of where we're looking at this year.
Artur?
Tom, from where do you get your players? I mean, there's a vibrant club scene in St. Louis, of course, but are they mostly from there, or do you look elsewhere? What does your recruiting look like?
Well, you're right, Art. We have a very good base of St. Louis players, and that's certainly a hotbed for us. But I have kids from all over. I have a player from Russia. I have a player from Slovakia, and then in the States, Texas, California, couple Missouri kids or St. Louis kids came in, Illinois, so again, it's again, you guys talk about how the NCAA sports and landscape is changing. It's really no different for us. We've felt the effects, at the ACHA level, the college club level, specifically hockey, as far as, eligibility changes. They passed a rule a couple years ago where major junior players, there's 3 major junior leagues in Canada, the Quebec League, the Ontario League, and the Western Hockey League. And for many, many years, the NCAA viewed those players as professionals because they could either sign entry-level NHL contracts or they were getting a weekly stipend, which was maybe $200-$250. So the NCAA considered those athletes professionals. They recently changed that. So what's happened now is many years ago, but you used to see NCAA hockey players leave after a year or two and go play major juniors because it was a quicker pathway to the NHL. Now it's the exact opposite. You have major junior players, you have U.S. national development team players leaving those programs to go to the NCAA because of that rule change, and it's a quicker pathway to the NHL now. The NCAA is. So what's happened is a lot of kids that were playing Division I NCAA hockey have been pushed out by these kids coming from these major junior hockey leagues, which has in turn pushed Division I athletes down to Division III, which has pushed Division III down to us. And our recruiting has changed drastically as far as the caliber of hockey player that we recruit. So it's obviously made our league better. I brought in kids this year that were Division III NCAA transfers that were playing high-level junior hockey in the States. So again, it's you've had to change your approach. You've had to widen your spectrum. We've become a destination program for hockey players, which is great to see.
Coach Tom Winkler is head coach of the Ice Bears at Missouri State. I have 2 questions that I want to ask you, if you will. Number one, I'd like you to elaborate a little bit on the scholarship level and the professionals going back to college, and you pointed out 3 examples of it occurring in hockey this year. And number 2 question is, what are the chances of Missouri State ever becoming an NCAA program?
Wow, you just lit the cannon on this one. It's for us. We are considered a club sport. We get fantastic support from the university. But financially we're on our own. We have to take care of things on our own. And Stan often talks about the 2 teams that we have: the on ice team and then the off ice team. And we all kind of collaborate on both. And we spend a lot of time fundraising and believe it or not, our players actually have to pay to play. It's costs an awful lot of money to run 2 hockey teams, and that's one of the obstacles that we have to deal with compared to some of the ACHA programs that are at private schools or schools that accept hockey into their athletic departments. So from a scholarship standpoint, our players receive, a majority of our guys receive academic money. And the one thing that Missouri State does, which is awesome, is they offer every individual, not just hockey players, but every student that comes to Missouri State, if they're coming from a borderline state, they can qualify for in-state tuition, which is huge. But then also, if they're from out of state, I believe there are other criteria that if they meet, they can qualify for tuition grants and discounts and other financial aid along those lines. So we really get the kids that are true student athletes. They're coming here. Like I had a player come in, and the first call we had, he's like, I'm coming to your school either or because you have construction management, and that's what I want to get into. So our athletes are, between our D1 and D3 team, are true student athletes. They come here to get a degree, and hockey's a bonus. And we have such a great environment for our kids to play in, and we can play with the big boys. I mean, since I've been here, we've been a top 30 team. Last year we finished 17 in the national rankings out of 85 teams. So we've become a destination for kids to play at this level. The second part of the question kind of goes back to what I talked about with, major junior kids coming to play college hockey. There were 3 cases I knew of and heard of last year where players from professional levels, the American Hockey League, the East Coast Hockey League, and the Southern Professional Hockey League, left its semester to go back to NCAA hockey. Money's obviously a big factor of that. Eligibility, the rules have changed. Watching the NCAA Division I hockey championship game last year, the kid who scored the game-winning goal for Denver had played 262 games in the Western Hockey League for Portland. He's an NHL-ready player. He's an NHL-caliber player. So, I know they're trying to put this, I believe it was called the 5-and-5, and now I believe it's the after you graduate. I think they're in the process of changing that.
They were going to bring back the 2022. The judge in Colorado made that decision about a month and a half ago. The 20 athletes from the era of 2022 would be eligible, got rescinded. The NCAA won that appeal over the weekend, so that will not take place. Okay. Thankfully, I think that's a very good deal. But why would they leave the pros to go back to college? Because making more money.
Actually, it's as crazy as this may sound. Even with us, where I said the players have to pay. I was on a committee this year with the ACHA in the off season determining what our NIL policy was going to be. So, I mean, it's you kind of scratch your head a little bit with everything that's transpired, and it's just, I probably shouldn't say this, but the NCAA can't get out of its own way.
No,
they allow things to happen. They let the horses out of the barn with no idea of what the repercussions are going to be, and they let it turn into just an absolute gong show. And for us, it's we have to sit back and kind of see what happens. And again, I think, personally, I don't have a problem with the major junior kids playing NCAA hockey because I think they were, quite frankly, penalized. I mean, they're in a situation where they can't get a job, they can't work. If they're in high school, those major junior leagues, they're pro schedules. They play 75 games. They're practicing every day. You're basically giving kid money to live off of. It's a stipend. It wasn't. So they were, they got through that, and then the second part of that was, I believe at one point the NCAA had a rule that you cannot compete with professional athletes during your season. So once they got past the compensation part of it, it was, players in the major junior leagues, if they're young enough and they sign an entry-level 3-year deal in the National Hockey League, if they're too young, if they're below 20, I believe, they cannot go to the American Hockey League. They have to go back to their junior teams. So then the NCAA said, you're playing against players that have professional contracts. And then one thing led to another, and rules got thrown out the window, and next thing you know, the NCAA coaches wanted these kids to play.
And here is Stan Melton, the general manager of all this, or at least he claims to be retired. He's not. Yeah. How do you handle this, and what is the money situation with the Ice Bears?
Well, basically, Ned, we're structured really similarly to any pro team in that our revenue sources, our key revenue sources are our ticket sales, our merchandise sales, our sponsor sales, and then, as Tom mentioned, the players do pay a fee, makes up about 40% of our revenues. And, of course, the expenses, I believe that in general, our budget for last year for both teams, somewhere in the neighborhood of $450,000.
And that's where Stan Melton comes into play.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah,
he knows a few people.
Yeah. We're very, very fortunate.
Question, Art?
No, I was marveling at that number that Stan threw out. But, Tom, when does the actual schedule of games begin?
We this year was a little different. Normally we have exhibition games in either late August or early September. We had a couple teams that were penciled in to do that, and for various reasons they backed out on us. So our season this year had a really cool event that's a bucket list for. It's going to be a bucket list for me again and all of our players. We were invited. The ACHA is hosting a preseason showcase up in Lake Placid at the Miracle on Ice facility. They invited 6 teams from the ACHA D1 level, and we at Missouri State were one of them. And part of the reason is the work that Stan and Kurt Busson and Ryan Armstrong have done over the last multiple years to build our reputation within the league. And because of what they've done, we've been respected and honored with this invitation. So we're going to get to play. There's a couple different facilities up there. They have what they call the 32 rink, and then they have the 80 rink, the Herb Brooks rink, which was where the U.S. Beat the Russians and then won the gold against Finland a couple days later. So we'll kick off. That's September. The first game is on the 18th. We play 3 games up there, the 18th, 19th, 20th. And those are all quote-unquote ACHA league games, not WCHL conference games, but league games for us. So pretty exciting. It's going to be an amazing trip. Our schedule's great to where we have time to do some sightseeing and see, the Olympic venues and all that stuff while we're there.
Talking Ice Bears hockey. Go ahead.
Just real quick, Tom. Wanted to also throw in kind of an example of the significance of playing in this tournament. I've been telling people, if you're a Catholic and you got a chance to go see the Vatican in Rome, that is a big deal for a Catholic. Well, for hockey guys, if you get a chance to play in Lake Placid, oh my gosh, you're going to a Mecca.
It's the mothership.
Do you believe in miracles?
That's exactly
Miracle
right.
is a timeout we have to take right now. We'll be right back in a second. We are into the final portion of the starting lineup, and indeed we're visiting with the Ice Bears, Tom Winkler and Stan Melton and company in here representing that group. Guys, very quickly, when is the home opener? And as everybody knows where you play, but just in case there are some listeners who don't, first game is when? First home game.
We're going to be coming back home after being on the road a while, about a month. We're playing Colorado University, and that'll be on October the 16th, and we always play Friday, Saturday games, so October 16th, the 7 o'clock game versus Colorado, and then October the 17th, the 6 o'clock game versus the Buffaloes.
And, Tom, how do you feel about the arena where you all play, as if there were any other choice in the matter?
The Brightspeed Ice Park, that's our home. And we're very fortunate, and again, the environment at that rink for our games is absolutely incredible. If you plan on going to these games and you don't have season tickets, you need to get there early.
If there was one game that you would recommend above all the others that fans try to get out to at home this year, which one would it be?
That's an easy one. Drury.
Drury.
The Drury weekend will be awesome. It was great last year. It was fantastic hockey. 2 really good teams that actually, there is a rivalry and we get along really well with each other. We obviously share the building, so know their coaching staff well. It's a very healthy relationship, and quite honestly, they were probably 2 of the best hockey games we had last year. At minimal penalties, but it was physical, it was hard, it was fast. The building was it was shaking. It was electric. So it's a great new rivalry that's kind of started, and those will be electric. And then other than that, probably I would say Grand Canyon. We play UNLV on the road and Grand Canyon at home, and those are the 2 teams that finished ahead of us in the WCHL standings. We finished 3rd last year, and this year it's in my opinion, it's an open race to see who's going to get that auto bid to nationals for winning the WCHL. And I like our chances because we play both the teams that finished ahead of us last year.
Arthur, any final questions?
When are those Drury games?
They are December 4th and December 5th, right before Christmas break for both schools.
Yeah, and Tom, I might throw in at this point with those Drury games last season, you mentioned a little earlier you need to get there early if you don't have season tickets. Well, last season I think we turned away 400 or 500 folks that couldn't get into the game. We filled the stands, the GA section. So we're ready to knock out a wall in the ice park and add about 1,000 seats if anybody would like to do that.
We had this question come up before you guys got here, and I must admit I don't know the answer. And I don't mean anything by this, but is there libations served within the arena during the game? Do you know what I'm making reference to?
Ned, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, there is. Oh, my gosh.
We're hockey guys. Don't use big words like that. Just say beer.
Is there beer there?
Yes.
Are there any other drinks there?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So they are. The reason I ask that is that when we have our Hall of Fame meetings down there, we come through the side door, and it specifically says on the door, no alcoholic beverages. But that's, of course, during the day and during the week.
Right. Ned, you can't bring your own in.
Yeah,
you got to get them there.
A few years ago, Ned, if you remember too, we passed a ordinance that the park board is allowed to do beer sales there, golf courses, some of the other parks facilities. So, yeah, that's allowed us to bring that in.
Artur, the day is saved, is it not?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Any questions, Art?
No. Good luck, guys. You've done a great job, Stan, you and Kurt and everyone over the years of building this up and the tradition that you've established, the baseline, and wish you nothing but the best this year.
Thanks so much, Art. We sure appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Art.
Maddux, you're a student over there. You'll be going down to the games.
Yeah, I will be. Yeah, we've got about 90 seconds left here, but just want to get a quick thought from you guys on the environment. Just sum it up in one word of these games.
Electric.
Explosive.
It's amazing. Yeah. And when I first came down here, they had me watch some games on YouTube, and they're like, you'll get a feel for it, but you won't know it until you experience it. And it's incredible. I honestly, there's maybe one or two other teams that can match what we have. And actually, we were at the league meetings in May, and several of the teams that came in and played us said the same thing. They want to keep coming here because their kids don't get to play in environments like that on a week-to-week basis.
Now, during your home match,
expanding on that, hockey is a great sport to watch live. Television does a great sport with football, baseball, basketball, kind of making you feel like you're there. Hockey, you need to be in that arena, and that is just an amazing experience.
TV does not cover it well. It can't. Right. The game is too
fast.
Now, for your home matches, real quickly, for the face-off, the puck will drop when? What time?
7:00.
Always at 7:00.
Always Friday night, 7:00. Saturday night, 6:00.
Yeah. Gentlemen, Tom Winkler, Stan Melton, thank you very much for coming by. And folks, thank you for being with us on the starting lineup. Ned Reynolds.
Maddux Radosevic.
Art Hains.
Thank you very much, folks. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow right here.
See ya.